Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. Jack Turner sat at his cluttered desk, staring blankly at the math homework that seemed more like an insurmountable mountain than mere numbers on paper. At 17, he was the quintessential high school student grappling with the usual mix of adolescent angst, family pressures, and the nagging question of purpose. His room, a sanctuary of scattered books, sketches, and personal mementos, hinted at a creative soul yearning for something beyond the mundane routines of daily life. Despite his outward appearance of normalcy, Jack had always felt a flicker of something deeper within him, an unexplained resilience and an empathy that went beyond his years. Little did he know, these traits were the very qualities that would thrust him into an ancient prophecy, setting him on a path that would challenge the very fabric of his existence. On a crisp autumn evening, Jack wandered into the old library at the edge of town, a place steeped in history and rumored to house secrets from ages past. The musty scent of aged paper filled his senses as he browsed the aisles, his fingers tracing the spines of forgotten tomes. Among the dusty shelves, he stumbled upon a weathered book titled Legends of the Infernal Realms. Intrigued, he pulled it from the shelf, its cover adorned with intricate symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. As he flipped through the pages, Jack's eyes caught a passage about an ancient prophecy predicting the rise of a new king in hell, destined to bridge the realms of the living and the damned. The words seemed to echo something deep within him, stirring memories of strange dreams and fleeting visions he dismissed as mere fantasies. Shaking off the unease, Jack decided to check out the book, unaware that his life was about to change irrevocably. The following night, sleep evaded him as the prophecy lingered in his mind. Visions of fiery landscapes, towering citadels, and shadowy figures plagued his thoughts, blending seamlessly with fragments of his reality. He dismissed them as residual effects of his reading, but deep down, he felt a connection he couldn't quite understand. Days passed, and Jack's routine remained largely unchanged: school, homework, fleeting interactions with friends. Yet, an undercurrent of anticipation coursed through him, a sense that something momentous was on the horizon. His best friend, Mia, noticed his distraction one afternoon as they sat in the school courtyard. "Hey, Jack, you've been off lately. Everything okay?" Mia asked, concern etching her features. Jack forced a smile, nodding. "Yeah, just a lot on my mind, I guess." Mia gave him a knowing look but let the subject drop, respecting his silence. Little did she know, Jack was about to embark on a journey that would test his very essence. It was during the annual Harvest Festival, a celebration marked by bonfires, music, and community gatherings, that the first tangible sign of Jack's destiny manifested. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the festivities, a sudden chill swept through the crowd. The bonfire's flames flickered unnaturally, and a dense fog began to roll in, enveloping the area in an eerie haze. Curiosity drew Jack away from the familiar sights and sounds, leading him to a secluded corner of the festival grounds where an old, ornate mirror stood, a relic from bygone times, adorned with symbols reminiscent of those in the book he had found. As he approached, the air grew heavy, and the temperature plummeted. Without warning, the mirror's surface rippled like liquid, and a blinding light engulfed him. Panic surged through Jack as he felt himself being pulled into the mirror, the world around him dissolving into darkness. The transition was jarring, disorienting his senses as he tumbled through a vortex of shadows and screams. Moments later, he landed harshly on a rocky terrain, the ground beneath him cracked and scorched. Gasping for breath, Jack looked around in horror. He had been transported to hell, a realm of eternal flames, towering obsidian structures, and an oppressive atmosphere that weighed heavily on his spirit. The sky was a perpetual twilight, streaked with crimson and black clouds that roiled ominously overhead. The air was thick with a scent of sulfur, and distant echoes of torment filled his ears. As he struggled to comprehend his surroundings, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a tall, imposing presence clad in dark armor, with eyes that burned like embers. "Welcome, Jack Turner," the figure intoned, his voice echoing with authority. "You have been chosen by the prophecy to claim the throne of hell." Jack recoiled, fear gripping his heart. "Chosen? What are you talking about? I don't understand." The figure stepped closer, revealing intricate markings on his armor. "An ancient prophecy foretells the rise of a new king from the human realm. The current throne lies vacant, and chaos threatens to consume hell. You must prove your worth through the trials of purgatory." Before Jack could respond, the figure vanished, leaving him alone in the desolate landscape. Panic threatened to overwhelm him, but a strange sense of determination settled in its place. If there was a prophecy, then perhaps he had a role to play, a purpose beyond the confines of his ordinary life. As he ventured deeper into hell, Jack encountered tormented souls and minor demons, each interaction reinforcing the gravity of his situation. Amidst the chaos, he met Lila, a rebellious spirit who had defied the infernal hierarchy. With her guidance, Jack began to understand the intricacies of hell's power dynamics and the significance of the trials he was about to face. Leela explained that the trials of purgatory were designed to test the very essence of a candidate's soul. Each trial would challenge Jack in different ways, pushing him to confront his deepest fears, insecurities, and moral boundaries. Success in these trials would earn him the right to challenge the reigning demon lords, each embodying a different facet of evil. The first trial awaited him in the Gauntlet of Shadows, a maze filled with illusions and manifestations of his personal fears. As Jack entered the labyrinth, the air grew thick with darkness, and the walls seemed to shift and breathe. He felt the weight of his anxieties pressing down on him, doubts about his worth, fears of failure, and the haunting question of whether he was truly capable of fulfilling the prophecy. Navigating the maze required more than just physical prowess, it demanded introspection and courage. Jack confronted visions of his worst fears, losing his family, failing his friends, and being powerless in the face of overwhelming darkness. Each step forward was a battle against his inner demons, but with Leela's guidance and his innate resilience, he began to find his way through the shifting corridors. Emerging from the gauntlet, Jack felt a surge of confidence. The river of suffering lay before him, a vast, turbulent expanse where tortured souls wailed in agony. To cross, he would need to endure not only the physical challenges of the treacherous waters but also the emotional pain mirrored in the river's depths. As he approached the riverbank, Jack encountered other soul systems seeking his help, others attempting to drag him into the abyss. Among them was Marcus, a once strong individual now broken by despair, and Elena, a spirited soul who clung to hope despite her suffering. Their interactions underscored the complexities of Hell's realm, where alliances were fragile, and trust was a rare commodity. The crossing was arduous. The waters seemed to seep into Jack's very being, amplifying his fears and doubts. Yet, each stroke forward was a testament to his growing inner strength. With Mia's memory as his anchor, her unwavering support and belief in him, Jack pushed through the torment, emerging on the other side exhausted but victorious. The final trial awaited at the Citadel of Despair, a towering fortress guarded by elite demons. Infiltrating the Citadel required strategy, cunning, and an unwavering sense of purpose. Jack and his newfound allies devised a plan to breach the fortress, utilizing their unique skills and the bonds they had forged through the previous trials. Inside the Citadel, the air was thick with malevolence. The corridors were lined with traps and guarded by formidable foes, each encounter testing Jack's leadership and resourcefulness. As they navigated the labyrinthine halls, Jack's confidence solidified. He was no longer the uncertain teenager he once was, but a leader ready to face whatever lay ahead. At the heart of the Citadel stood the throne room, an imposing chamber adorned with dark symbols and pulsating with dark energy. Here, Jack would confront the first of the demon lords, Azazel, the Tempter. Azazel embodied the allure of power, seeking to sway Jack with promises of greatness in exchange for allegiance. Their confrontation was intense. Azazel's words were honeyed poison, preying on Jack's latent desires for purpose and recognition. The demon lord's charisma was undeniable, his offers tempting the very core of Jack's ambitions. Yet, amidst the seductive rhetoric, Jack's newfound clarity prevailed. He recognized the true cost of such power and the loss of his soul and humanity. Rejecting Azazel's offer was a defining moment for Jack. His refusal not only solidified his moral compass but also earned him a begrudging respect from the demon lord. This encounter set the tone for the challenges to come, establishing Jack as a worthy contender for the throne not through coercion or deceit, but through integrity and strength of character. As Jack and his allies prepared for the next phase of their journey, the weight of the prophecy settled firmly upon his shoulders. The path ahead was fraught with peril, but Jack Turner was no longer merely a high school student searching for meaning. He was a beacon of hope in a realm teetering on the brink of chaos, destined to make choices that would echo through both hell and the human world. Jack stood in the aftermath of his confrontation with Azazel, his mind still reeling from the demon's attempt to seduce him with promises of power. The tempter's words echoed in his head, offering visions of glory, command, and endless dominion over all souls in hell. But Jack had seen through it, understanding that such power came at the price of everything that made him human. He couldn't let himself fall into the same trap that had consumed so many before him. Leela, his rebellious guide, watched him in silence. There was something different in her eyes now, a glimmer of respect, perhaps even admiration. Jack could feel the shift. He was no longer the boy who had stumbled into this infernal realm by accident. He had proven himself through the gauntlet of shadows, crossed the river of suffering, and now rejected the temptations of one of hell's most powerful lords. But he knew this was only the beginning. The throne of hell was still vacant, and the demon lords who would vie for it would not allow him to leave without a fight. He had earned his place in the trials, but the true test was still to come. They moved deeper into the heart of hell, leaving the ruins of Azazel's lair behind. The air grew thicker with every step, the sky above roiling with dark clouds that seemed to pulse with energy. Leela led him toward the next destination, the domain of Lilith, the enchantress. Jack had heard of Lilith in the whispers of the damned. She was a master of manipulation, bending both men and women to her will with nothing more than a glance, a word. She reveled in twisting the desires of those who sought power, making them believe they were acting of their own free will, when in reality, they were nothing but pawns in her game. As they neared the entrance to Lilith's domain, Jack felt a chill creep up his spine. The citadel before them was a towering structure of smooth, obsidian glass, reflecting distorted images of the fiery landscape surrounding it. It was eerily silent, and no screams of tormented souls, no howls of demons. Just an oppressive stillness that seemed to swallow the sound of their footsteps as they approached. "She's waiting for you," Leela said quietly, stopping just outside the citadel's massive entrance. "I can't go any further." Jack nodded, steeling himself as he stepped forward. The door swung open on its own, revealing a long, dimly lit corridor that stretched endlessly before him. He couldn't see where it led, but he knew there was no turning back now. With each step, the air seemed to grow heavier, the shadows closing in tighter around him. The walls pulsed with a soft, hypnotic glow, as if the very stone was alive, watching his every move. At the end of the corridor, Jack entered a vast chamber bathed in soft, golden light. The air was warm, fragrant with the scent of exotic flowers, a stark contrast to the hellish flames and molten rock outside. In the center of the room, lounging on a throne of velvet and silk, was Lilith. She was impossibly beautiful, her pale skin glowing like moonlight, her dark hair cascading in waves down her shoulders. Her eyes were a piercing, unnatural shade of violet, and they locked on to Jack the moment he entered. A slow smile spread across her lips. "Jack Turner," she purred, her voice soft, yet filled with an undeniable authority. "I've been waiting for you." Jack stood his ground, wary of her every movement. He could feel the power radiating from her, an energy that pulled at him, urging him to step closer, to listen to her, to believe in her. He clenched his fists, reminding himself that this was a test, another trial designed to exploit his weaknesses. "Have you now?" Jack replied, keeping his voice steady. Lilith laughed, a sound like chiming bells, though there was something unsettling about it, as if the sweetness was only a veneer for something much darker. "Oh, yes," she said, rising gracefully from her throne and gliding toward him. "You're different from the others who've tried to claim the throne. You've already proven your strength, your resilience. But there's something else, isn't there? Something that makes you special." She circled him slowly, her gaze never leaving his face. "You don't want power for power's sake. You don't crave dominion over hell, do you?" She stopped in front of him, her eyes searching his, as if trying to peer into his very soul. "You're here because you think you can escape, return to your mortal life." Jack didn't answer, but his silence was enough for Lilith. She smiled again, this time with a knowing, almost pitying expression. "You can't escape, Jack," she whispered, her voice soft, like a lover's caress. "Once you've entered this realm, it becomes a part of you. You may leave hell, but hell will never leave you." Jack's heart raced as her words sunk in. She was trying to manipulate him, plant seeds of doubt in his mind. But he wouldn't let her. He had come too far to fall into her trap now. "I'm not here to be your pawn," Jack said firmly, stepping back from her. "Whatever you're trying to do, it won't work." Lilith's smile faltered for a moment, but then it returned, colder this time. "Oh, Jack, you misunderstand me. I don't need you to be my pawn. I want you to be my equal." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Jack's mind raced, trying to process what she was offering. "You see," she continued, "hell is a place of chaos, but it doesn't have to be. Together, we could bring order to this realm. We could rule as king and queen, reshape hell into something new, something powerful. The demons would follow us. The souls would serve us. No more chaos, no more torment." Jack's breath caught in his throat. The offer was tempting, undeniably so. With Lilith at his side, he could end the madness that had plagued this realm for centuries. He could bring peace to the tormented souls, restore balance where there had only been suffering. But at what cost? "You can't just change what this place is," Jack said, shaking his head. "Hell isn't meant to be ruled like that. It's a broken bar. It's a reflection of what we are. Our darkest desires, our worst fears. You can't reshape it without becoming a part of it." Lilith's eyes darkened, her smile vanishing. "So you would rather let this chaos continue? Let these souls suffer? Let the demons war among themselves?" "I'd rather not lose myself in the process," Jack said quietly. "I'm not like you." Lilith's face twisted in anger, her beauty suddenly sharp and dangerous. "You're a fool, Jack Turner. You could have had everything, and yet you throw it away for what? Some naive idea of what hell should be?" Jack took a deep breath, his pulse pounding in his ears. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just not becoming something I'm not." For a moment, it seemed like Lilith might attack him, her eyes blazing with fury. But then she stepped back, her expression smoothing into one of cold indifference. "Very well," she said, her voice ice. "If you won't join me, then you'll face the consequences of your choice." Before Jack could react, the ground beneath him began to tremble, and the chamber around him started to distort. The golden light dimmed, replaced by a sickly, greenish glow. The air grew thick with a sense of impending doom, and Jack's heart sank as he realized he had been pulled into Lilith's final game. The walls of the chamber melted away, revealing a vast, nightmarish landscape. Jagged mountains loomed in the distance, and the ground beneath his feet was a shifting mass of shadow and flame. The sky above churned with storm clouds, streaked with lightning that flashed in eerie silence. Lilith floated before him, no longer the alluring enchantress, but a terrifying figure cloaked in darkness, her eyes burning with malice. "This is your final trial, "Jack," she said, her voice echoing across the desolate plain. "Survive, if you can." And with that, the ground erupted beneath him, and the world exploded into chaos. Jack scrambled to keep his footing as the landscape around him shifted violently. Pillars of fire shot up from the earth, and the sky tore open, unleashing torrents of molten rain. Demons swarmed from every direction, their twisted forms writhing and screeching as they charged toward him. Jack's mind raced as he dodged the onslaught, his body moving on instinct alone. The demons were relentless, their claws slashing through the air as they tried to tear him apart. But Jack fought back, his newfound strength and determination driving him forward. He wasn't the same boy who had entered hell unprepared. He had faced his fears, survived the trials, and refused the temptations of both Azazel and Lilith. He was more than they had expected. But as the storm of demons closed in around him, Jack realized that brute strength alone wouldn't be enough to survive this trial. He needed something more, something deeper. He closed his eyes, focusing on the calm center within himself. The part of him that had always been different. The part that had always known there was more to life than what he had seen on the surface. And in that moment of clarity, Jack felt a surge of energy, like a light bursting from deep inside his soul. The demons recoiled, their shrieks of rage turning to screams of terror as the energy around Jack expanded, forming a protective barrier. The ground beneath his feet steadied, and the chaos around him slowed, as if time itself was bending to his will. Lilith's voice rang out, furious and desperate. "What are you doing? Stop this!" But Jack was beyond her reach now. He was no longer fighting for survival, he was fighting for his soul, for his freedom, for everything that made him who he was. The storm broke, the demons scattered, and the flames of hell dimmed as Jack stood tall, his energy burning brighter than the infernal fires around him. In the silence that followed, Jack opened his eyes. Lilith was gone, her power broken, her hold over him shattered. And for the first time since he had entered hell, Jack felt a sense of peace. He had passed the final trial. But his journey wasn't over yet. There was still one more demon lord to face. One final challenge before he could claim the throne yet or walk away from it all. Jack turned, ready to face his destiny.